Welcome back to the Sports Booth YouTube channel. Now, today we've got something special for you. Hughesy has harped on about this topic for far too long, so he wants to sit you down and he wants to tell you all an important message that he's getting annoyed with. He's mentioned it multiple times on our podcasts, and today he's got about a 10-minute, 15-minute platform to really share his thoughts on this topic, and definitely let us know if you agree or disagree with him on this topic. But Hughesy, take us away.
Right, so I want to talk to everyone today about a pressing issue in modern rugby, and that is social media, particularly updates of the games on social media during the games. Right now, the team accounts do a relatively good job of this, but the overall brand accounts and the network accounts, so for Super Rugby Stand Sport, do an absolutely horrific job of this, right? It's some of the worst social media I've ever seen. Now, I'm looking at this from the perspective of someone who has run social media for competition before, not sports, but for esports, right? And it's not as simple as just clicking tweet and writing something out, right? Or just posting something. But you pay social media professionals for this. You pay marketing people for this, right? If the teams themselves can do it, the league should be able to do it, right? Now, Twitter is just about the only social media platform out there where you can get chronological live updates, right? So Instagram's got its funny algorithm, but yeah, you could check stories and stuff, but it's hard to follow something along live on Instagram, right? Unless you're watching a live stream. And same with Facebook. It's hard to see posts come out sequentially on these platforms. Twitter is a very good one for seeing these posts come out sequentially to get your news updates on. Now, I get that Super Rugby doesn't have a whole lot of traction on Twitter, and Twitter is one of the smaller social media sites. But I'm even talking about Facebook and Instagram here as well. When I was watching the rugby on the weekend, as I do, trying to get the social media updates of these games was just horrendous in the effort it took me to do this. The Waratahs team site did team account does a very good job of getting the results out there, and they're the only one I follow because I'm not going to follow some other team on social media. What am I, a traitor? No. I'm a Waratahs fan. So they post the score updates. They post a picture of who scored the try and whatnot, and that's pretty good. I give them a solid B+ for that. A solid B+. So that's decent social media work. You're fulfilling the brief, but it's not quite as good as everyone else. It's still a little bit below standard. To get a real A mark, I look at the closest competition to rugby in Australia, which is of course rugby league, right? And the team accounts for that, they do the same thing. They tweet out who scored when, but they often post video highlights very shortly afterwards the play. Now, not very shortly afterwards the game, but very shortly after the scoring play. Now, the Waratahs, they did that once during the Western Force game, despite the enormous scoreline and the great performance put on by the Waratahs. Even non-scoring plays you could make video highlights of, but only one highlight released during the game. So that's a B+ for the Waratahs. Not quite up to snuff, but pretty good. Now I look at Super Rugby Pacific account, and I look at Stan Sports account, and what am I seeing on here? I'm seeing basically a kickoff tweet that the game started. So okay, good. That's again, something pretty basic you should be doing, letting people know that the game's starting. What am I seeing during the game? Not fucking much, let me tell you that. Not fucking much. Tweeting well after plays have happened, they're posting highlights. During the course of the Waratahs and Western Force games, Super Rugby Pacific made 4 tweets. 1 to announce kickoff, 1 to announce the end of the game, and 2 short videos, each less than 30 seconds. Now, even these videos are fucking shit because you can't see the scoreline. And they cut out half the play. They've got them in these vertical box images. And I understand, okay, they're probably, these are clearly cut for an Instagram reel, right? They're not cut. These aren't cut for Twitter or for Facebook, where you can click on the video and see it so you can see the scoreline. That's one thing I really hate, especially if you're just tweeting out the video and you're not tweeting out any score information, right? If you can't see the score in the video, put in the score in your tweet. You know, the Western Force score a try is one of the video highlights. Okay, great. What does that do to the scoreline? Has this given the Western Force the lead? Has this brought them closer? Are they starting a comeback? I've got no fucking idea.
They've
right?
just won the
I've
game.
got no clue. They just, have they just won the game? There's no context there, right? Same with the Waratahs video highlight. 4 tweets during a game, during a professional game. Horrendous. Stan Sport Rugby. Let's have a look what they did during the Waratahs Western Force game. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tries. 5 tweets. That's it. 5 tweets. Nothing to announce kickoff. So they didn't even tell fans that kickoff started. And this is the service that streams the game, by the way, folks. No information that the game's kicked off. 1 video highlight for a try, another video highlight for a try, 3rd video highlight for the try, and then the game's over. And then they have 1 post game of sort of a little mini game recap, which I give them some points for. Both of these social medias, I'm giving a C- on here because this is pretty shoddy when you look at the competition, right? So I'm going to look now at Rugby League and NRL. And I'm not going to give you the specific numbers here because there are too many tweets for me to give you the accurate numbers for. It's going to take me too long to go through these. But I follow the St. George Illawarra Dragons, and they played the Canberra Raiders on the weekend, right? On this Dragons social media across Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, there were continual live updates of all important plays from the game. I'm talking about tries. I'm talking about near misses. I'm talking about penalties. I'm talking about cards, right? None of that was mentioned on any of the accounts I just mentioned. There were a couple of yellow cards during that New South Wales and Western Force game. None of that's mentioned on any of those social media accounts, right? Not even on the Waratahs account. No mention of that either. So St. George Dragons team account mentioned that themselves. They had notifications of when tries were scored with pictures of the players. They had video highlights, right? As well as that, though, the official NRL account and the Fox League account were also live tweeting these games, right? So now, again, not as instantaneous as the teams are, but they're putting a little bit more polish on. So I give them a pass on that. I allow them to take a couple of extra minutes, right, to then post a professional-looking video highlight or to post something that looks a little bit more polished, right? What's great about the NRL highlights on social media, guess what? I could see the scoreline. I could see what's the importance of this play in the context of the game. Now, this is probably more to do with how the NRL have their scoreline set up, where it's at the bottom of the screen as a flat bar, whereas Super Rugby have got it in the top little corner. And it's a bit harder to see, but it's still you could see that they've kept it in a frame. It's the same angle every time where I can see the scoreline, and I know, okay, this is why this try is important. Oh, look, Parramatta just scored a try. That's put them in front now. Or look, the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs have scored, but that doesn't really do much for them because they're behind by 30 points. So it's just a different level of polish. I'm even looking at the Fox League ones here. They do a wider video. They guess what? Guess what they do with their videos? They don't just use the same video they cut for Instagram. They have the video. They click save twice. Once for Instagram, once for Twitter and Facebook. And I can see the scoreline. I can see how much time is left in the game as well. That's another huge thing. I can see if it's in the first or the fucking second half. Right? I could see when in the game this happened. You've got video highlights, you've got commentary, you've got links to the game. It's just another level above. You've got halftime score updates, you've got full time, you've got kickoff, you've got sin binnings. You've got so much information in these tweets, either in the text of the tweet itself or in the highlight that they've posted, that it's so easy to follow along the game from there. It's so easy to see. I can't tell you how many times I've seen live updates of an NRL game, And I've decided to then pop that game on because, this game looks like it's actually pretty interesting. Oh, there's a lot of tries being scored in this one. Oh, there's a comeback happening in this game. And I just quickly pop out KO and start following along on my phone. That is a huge way to get people involved in the game. The more you are putting out there on social media and constantly reminding people, hey, there's a game on. There's a game on. Look at this highlight from this game that's on, right? Look at the scoreline here. Look, your team's smacking this other team. Oh, look at these two teams you don't really care about, but it's a tight game and it looks interesting. How many more people are going to think, oh, okay, well, I'll just grab, I've got my subscription. I'll actually watch this game, right?
Yep.
I think it would do wonders for just that little bit of extra effort on social media to draw people into the game. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You got to be hitting all three. You can't just be focusing on Instagram. One thing I've been noticing about Super Rugby is it's very Facebook and Instagram centric, and those are the two biggest platforms. But it's hard to get through live to people there, and even then, the amount of content that they're doing on those platforms could be way better. And there could be a lot more of it. So that's the first part of what I've got to talk about here is the social media side of things. Have you got any comments on that, my friend?
Yeah, I just a great point you made before, and a perfect example was the Justin Olam getting absolutely sent to the after realm by Olakwatu and Josh Eloi, or Eloi, should I say? And I saw that video on about 8 different Instagram channels. Manly, NRL, Fox. I saw it everywhere. So yeah, just stuff like that. You just see it a lot more. I love the NRL Instagram account. I'll see an update on one of the apps I use to see the score updates. See someone scored 2 minutes later, it's up on the NRL. As a video, and you see them scoring, and you're like, sweet, well, yeah. And like you said, I've definitely pulled out my phone a lot more to NRL games because of it. But no, yeah, continue on, my friend. You're on a roll. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah. Well, I with the NRL, there's also the NRL roast social media account who's very good for posting highlights and things like that as well. And that is one thing that I will say rugby has got as well is that rugby, we've got fantastic community accounts. During the podcast you mentioned Rugby Pass a lot. There's also the Rugby Bloke and a few others as well that I can recall. And they often repost with each other. Ourselves, the Sports Booth, that's where I get most of my rugby updates because these people out in the community are so passionate about rugby, posting more than the official accounts. And that's good in some ways, but sad in others. So there's people out there that want to be doing this stuff. And rugby's got the cash now to be doing it. It's not. You don't have to dress people up in gold suits to do this. You don't have to be splashing out, tens of millions to be doing this. So step it up. Second thing is it's really difficult to find news on and details on things on rugby. So particularly, and I messaged you about this last week or on the weekend. Is do you have any details about this upcoming Wallabies camp? Because we hear it mentioned on the broadcast all the time. We had the squad list released about the upcoming Wallabies camp. What is it? I knew it was on the Gold Coast, but I didn't know anything else about it. And I was Googling away and looking at websites and things like that. Couldn't find anything on it. The Wallabies website didn't have anything on the Wallabies camp. The earliest article they had on a Wallabies camp, apart from the squad list announcement, was an article from 2022, from last year, about last year's camp. And, I knew this Wallabies camp was happening this week, but there's also Super Rugby games this week. So I was like, how does this Wallabies camp affect player availability? Are these players still going to be available to play their games on the weekend? How long does this camp last for? What's happening in this camp? Zero information on it. Today there was an article posted. Yesterday there was an article posted with the updates to the squad where someone put a pen on paper and said it's a 3-day camp. And then afterwards, the players will go back to their teams and available for the games the weekend. So, okay, well, that's probably like something good to have in an article somewhere that people can find, right? And just before, during the podcast, I went to look up just a quick little rule about the English Premier League. Super easy to find, right on the Premier League website, super easy to look. It was the homegrown player rule. Really easy to find. Information there, readily available, right? So again, it's this whole issue is all about accessibility to rugby. Rugby needs to make it more accessible to people to get more people interested in and involved in the game. It's doing a really bad job of that. It's really riding on its own coattails. It's resting on its own laurels about past achievements, and it really needs to step up. The Northern Hemisphere does a lot better job of this than the Southern Hemisphere does, right? English rugby, particularly, there's a lot of information out there about it. Southern Hemisphere rugby, particularly Australia, not nearly as much. And it's really something I've always harp on about marketing and things like that as well. Like rugby's got a good product on the field. They've made some good changes to better the product on the field, and it's entertaining to watch now. But the off the field aspect of getting people in to watch isn't working. You know, what's the point of having a gold standard product if no one watches it? You know, what if you host a party and no one shows up, right?
Yeah.
You could have the best beer, you can have the best snacks, you can have the best music, but if no one shows up, it doesn't matter, right? If your invites are shit, if your Facebook event is shit, no one's showing up, all right? So that's the whole thing with rugby as well. It's like it as good as players are on the field, right? It almost doesn't matter if people don't know and don't show up. So rugby, particularly Rugby Australia, Super Rugby, Stand Sport, step it up.
Excellent. Let us know if you agree with Hughesy. If you like what you saw, we cover rugby all year round. Make sure you subscribe, like, follow, all that good stuff. For now, thank you for joining us. We will see you later.
Peace.